The great hall of Veltara stretched as far as the eye could see. Golden pillars reached toward a ceiling that showed the stars of 1,000 conquered worlds. Emperor Crixtel sat on his crystal throne, watching the daily reports from across his empire. For 3,000 years, his people had ruled the galaxy. No one had ever been foolish enough to say no to them. Today would be different. Captain Lee Dae-ho stood in the communication room of Earth Defense Command, staring at the message that had just arrived. The blue hologram of Ambassador Park Min-soo flickered before him. Park looked tired and scared. His Earth uniform was torn, and there were marks on his face that showed he had not been treated well. "Captain Lee," Park's voice was shaky. "I am speaking from the Veltharian capital ship. The Emperor has given Earth an ultimatum. We have 7 days to surrender completely, or they will destroy our planet." Lee felt his hands turn into fists. 6 months ago, Park had gone on the first peaceful mission to meet these aliens. He was supposed to come back with news of friendship and trade. Instead, he had become a prisoner forced to deliver threats. "They call it pacification," Park continued. "They say no species has ever refused their offer. They expect Earth to bow, down like all the others." The message ended. Lee stood in silence for a moment, then walked quickly to the command center. Admiral Kim Hee-jin was already there, along with Dr. Cho Sung-min and the other senior staff. They had all heard the message. 7 days, Admiral Kim said. Her voice was calm, but Lee could see the anger in her eyes. "They think we will just give up our freedom because they ask for it." Dr. Cho looked up from his tablet. "The construction of the Indomitable is almost finished. We need 3 more days to complete the final tests." "Then we buy ourselves time," Admiral Kim replied. "Send." Our response, Lee typed the message himself. It was short and simple. "We decline your generous offer." He added one more line. "Earth stands free." On Veltara, Emperor Crixtel read the human response and laughed. The sound echoed through the great hall, causing his advisors to step back, in fear. When the Emperor laughed like that, someone usually died. "They decline?" Crixtel stood up from his throne. "A single-world species thinks they can refuse the Veltharian Empire?" Grand Admiral Vex Thori bowed low. "My Emperor, our scouts reported that the humans have basic space technology. A few ships, some orbital platforms. Nothing that could threaten even our smallest fleet." "Then send the 47th Conquest Fleet," the Emperor ordered. "Make an example. Of these humans, I want every species in the galaxy to see what happens when someone says no to us." The 47th Fleet was already preparing to leave. 200 warships, each one larger than Earth's biggest space station. Fleet Commander Zephalin stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the star charts. The journey to Earth would take 5 days. He expected the war to last less than 1 hour. "Commander," his tactical officer reported, "the human system has 1 star with 9 planets. The 3rd planet is their homeworld. Our scouts counted maybe 50 ships total in their defense." "Fleet," Zephalin nodded. 50 ships against 200. They will surrender when they see us coming." But Earth was not preparing to surrender. In hidden shipyards behind Jupiter's moons, workers rushed to finish humanity's secret project. The KDFS, Indomitable, was not like any ship the galaxy had ever seen. It was 15 kilometers long and packed with technology that would make the Empire's best scientists weep with envy. Dr. Cho Sung-min walked through the ship's corridors, checking every system. The quantum matter armor was responding perfectly. The dimensional phase drives were ready. Most importantly, the gravitational wave cannon had passed all its tests. "How did we build this so fast?" asked Lieutenant Commander Lee So-young as she joined him. Dr. Cho smiled. "Humans are good at making weapons when we need to. We just usually prefer not to need to." Admiral Kim Hye-jin stood in the command center, watching reports from across the solar system. Saturn Defense Platform Alpha was ready. The Jupiter shipyards were hidden behind stealth fields. Mars had activated its planetary defense grid. Even the moon had revealed weapons that had been built in secret caves. "Admiral," Captain Baek Tae-hyun called out, "long-range sensors are picking up the Veltharian fleet. They will reach the outer system in 18 hours. Then it begins, Admiral Kim said. She opened a channel to every human ship and station. This is Admiral Kim Hye-jin to all Earth Defense Forces. For 3,000 years, the Veltharian Empire has crushed anyone who stood in their way. Today they learn that humans do not kneel. Station Commander Yoon Jae-wook received the message on Saturn Defense Platform Alpha. His station looked like a simple research outpost from the outside. The Empire's scouts had seen it and marked it as harmless. They had no idea what was hidden. Inside, weapons check. Yoon ordered his crew. Phase cannons ready, reported his gunner. Dimensional missiles loaded, added his tactical officer. Stealth field holding steady, confirmed his engineer. The platform looked empty and weak. In reality, it had enough firepower to destroy a small moon. On Earth, President Moon Jae-in addressed the world. Citizens of Earth, we face our greatest challenge. An empire that has never known defeat is coming to take our freedom. But we are not the same species that once fought with sticks and stones. We have reached for the stars, and now the stars will see what humans can do. In the deep space between Neptune and Pluto, sensors detected the arrival of the Veltharian fleet. 200 massive ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel and began their approach toward Earth. Each ship bristled with weapons. Each one had destroyed entire civilizations. Fleet Commander Zephalin looked at his screens and frowned. The human system looked almost empty. A few small ships moved between the planets. Some orbital stations sent out weak signals. Where was the great defense fleet he had expected? Commander? His communications officer called out. We are receiving a transmission from the third planet. Put it on screen, Zephalin ordered. A human face appeared on the view screen. The man wore a military uniform and looked calm. Too calm, for someone whose world was about to be conquered. This is Captain Lee Dae-ho of Earth Defense Command, the human said. You have entered our solar system without permission. Turn around and leave, or we will defend ourselves. Zephalin laughed. Human, you are facing the 47th Conquest Fleet of the Veltharian Empire. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. I gave you our answer already, Lee replied. We decline your generous offer. The transmission ended. Zephalin stared at the blank screen, then turned to his crew. These humans are either very brave or very stupid. Either way, they will learn their place. All ships, advance on the third planet. Destroy anything that gets in our way. The Veltharian fleet moved forward like a metal storm. In 18 hours, they would reach Earth. The Empire expected this to be their easiest conquest ever. They were about to learn how wrong an empire could be. The Veltharian 47th Fleet moved through space like hungry wolves. Fleet Commander Zephalin stood on his bridge, watching the tactical display. The human solar system spread out before them, looking peaceful and weak. His 200 warships would make quick work of whatever defenses these primitives had built. Commander, his scanner officer reported, we are detecting a large structure orbiting the 6th planet. It appears to be some kind of space station. Zephalin looked at the readings. The station was big, but it showed no weapon signatures. Just another research platform, probably studying the gas giant's rings. Hail them, he ordered. Let them know their new masters have arrived. The communication went out across space. On Saturn Defense Platform Alpha, Station Commander Yoon Jae-wook received the call. He sat in his command chair surrounded by screens that showed the approaching fleet. 200 ships. It was exactly what Earth Defense Command had expected. This is Fleet Commander Zephalin of the Veltharian Empire. The alien's voice boomed through the speakers. You will surrender immediately and prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will result in your destruction. Yoon looked at his crew. They were all young, all human, and all ready to fight. For months they had trained for this moment. Now it was time to show the galaxy what Earth could do. Open a channel, Yoon ordered. The screen flickered to life, showing the bridge of the Veltharian flagship. Commander Zephalin was tall and thin, with gray skin and yellow eyes. He wore a uniform covered in medals from 1,000 conquered worlds. This is Station Commander Yoon Jae-wook. the human said calmly. You have entered restricted space without permission. Turn back immediately, or we will consider your presence an act of war. Cephalon stared at the screen for a moment, then burst out laughing. His crew joined in, filling the bridge with alien laughter. Human, Cephalon said when he could speak again. You are one station facing 200 warships. Do you really think you can threaten us? I am not threatening you, Yoon replied. I am warning you. Last chance to leave peacefully. The transmission ended. Cephalon shook his head in amazement. These humans were even more foolish than he had thought. Tactical, he called out. Send the Vanguard to destroy that station. 20 ships should be more than enough. Make it dramatic. I want every human in this system to see what happens when they defy the Empire. 20 of his fastest attack cruisers broke away from the main fleet. They were sleek ships, built for speed and destruction. Each one carried enough firepower to level a city. Together they could crack a planet's crust. The cruisers raced toward Saturn, their plasma cannons charging for the kill. On their screens, the human station grew larger. It looked so small and helpless, this would be over in seconds. They were right about that. It would be over in seconds. Just not the way they expected. Lieutenant Commander Lee So-young sat in the cockpit of her fighter, watching the enemy ships approach. The Taeguk-1 was humanity's most advanced fighter craft, but it looked nothing like the flying machines the Empire knew. It was small and angular, covered in panels that seemed to shift and change color. Tiger Squadron, this is Tiger Leader, she spoke into her radio. 20 bandits incoming. Time to show them what Earthbirds can do. Around Saturn's rings, space, suddenly filled with human fighters. They had been hiding in the ice and rock, invisible to Veltharian sensors. Now they revealed themselves, 12 small craft against 20 massive cruisers. The Veltharian ships opened fire immediately. Plasma beams and particle cannons lit up space with deadly energy. The weapons that had burned entire worlds focused on the tiny human fighters. Every shot missed. The human fighters seemed to flicker in and out of existence. 1 second they were there, the next they had vanished into thin air. The Veltharian gunners fired at empty space while the real targets appeared somewhere else entirely. What is happening? Demanded the lead Veltharian captain. Where did they go? His tactical officer stared at his screens in confusion. Sir, they are phasing in and out of normal space. Our weapons cannot lock onto them. The human fighters struck back. They appeared inside the Veltharian formation, their weapons blazing. But these were not normal space fighters. They carried dimensional phase cannons that could punch through any armor. They fired missiles that ignored shields and struck directly at their targets' hulls. The first Veltharian cruiser exploded in a ball of fire. Then the second. Then the third. One by one, the proud ships of the Empire died while their weapons fired uselessly at ghosts. Lieutenant Commander Lee danced her fighter through the battle, appearing behind enemy ships and vanishing before they could respond. Her weapons spoke, again and again, each shot finding its mark. This was what humans did best. They adapted, they improvised, they found ways to win against impossible odds. Tiger 2 to Tiger Leader, her wingman called out. That's 15 down, 5 left. Finish them, Lee replied. The last 5 Veltharian cruisers tried to retreat, but it was too late. The human fighters followed them, phasing through space like hunting sharks. In less than 10 minutes, all 20 ships were debris floating in Saturn's gravity well. On the Veltharian flagship, Fleet Commander Cephalon stared at his tactical display in shock. 20 ships, 20 of his best attack cruisers, gone, destroyed by a handful of primitive fighters. How is this possible? He whispered. His tactical officer was pale with fear. Commander, our sensors could barely track them. They have technology we have never seen before. Cephalon felt something he had not experienced in decades. Doubt. For the first time in his military career, he wondered if the Empire might not win this battle. Signal the 12th Armada, he ordered. Tell Grand Admiral Vexthori that we need reinforcements. Tell him the humans have weapons we do not understand. Sir, his communications officer said nervously, the Grand Admiral will ask why we need Help against primitives. Tell him we just lost 20 ships to 12 fighters, Cephalon replied. If he does not believe it, show him the sensor logs. The message went out across space, traveling faster than light to reach the Empire's core. Fleets. Within hours, the legendary 12th Armada would be on its way to Earth. They would bring their most powerful ships and their deadliest weapons. They would also bring their greatest mistake. On Saturn Defense Platform Alpha, Station Commander Yoon Jae-wook watched the enemy fleet pull back to a safe distance. His station was still intact. His fighters had returned safely. The first battle was won. All stations, this is Alpha Command, he broadcast. The enemy has been bloodied. They know now that Earth will not fall easily. Lieutenant Commander Lee landed her fighter in the station's hangar bay. Her crew chief ran up to check the Taeguk-1 for damage, but the fighter was untouched. The dimensional phase system had worked perfectly. How does it feel to be humanity's first space ace? Her crew chief asked with a grin. Lee pulled off her helmet and shook out her long black hair. It feels like we are just getting started. Back. On the command bridge, Yoon received a priority message from Earth. Admiral Kim Hyejin's face appeared on the screen. Well done, Commander, the Admiral said. The enemy is calling for reinforcements. Our plan is working. What are your orders? Admiral? Kim smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. Let them come. The more ships they bring, the more impressive our victory will be. Humanity is about to announce itself to the galaxy. Deep in the asteroid belt, the KDFS Indomitable waited in darkness. The massive Dreadnought was invisible to enemy sensors, hidden by stealth technology that bent light and gravity around its hull. Soon, very soon, it would be time to reveal Earth's greatest secret. The Veltharian Empire had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. They had conquered species after species, always winning through superior numbers and firepower. They had never faced an enemy that could strike from nowhere and vanish like smoke. They had never faced humans. Fleet Commander Cephalon stood on his bridge, watching the stars and wondering what other surprises these impossible creatures had, waiting for him. He would find out soon enough. The 12th Armada was coming, bringing enough ships to burn entire star systems. But humanity had surprises too. And the biggest surprise was still hiding in the dark, waiting for its moment to strike. Grand Admiral Vexathori had never lost a battle. In 50 years of service to the Veltharian Empire, his fleets had destroyed rebel worlds, crushed alien navies, and brought order to chaotic systems. When the call came from the 47th Fleet asking for help against primitive humans, he almost refused to answer. Almost. Prep the 12th Armada for immediate departure, he ordered from his flagship's bridge. And bring the World Breaker. If these humans want to play games, we will end them quickly. The World Breaker was the Empire's most feared Dreadnought. At 8 kilometers long, it carried enough firepower to crack a planet's surface. Its antimatter cannons could punch through any known armor. Its shields could stop the combined attack of 100 lesser ships. It had never been defeated in combat. The 12th Armada consisted of 200 of the Empire's finest warships, led by the World Breaker itself. Combined with the 47th Fleet already at Earth, the humans would face over 400 vessels. It was enough firepower to conquer 10 star systems. Admiral, his tactical officer reported, the fleet is ready for faster-than-light travel. Take us to Earth, Vexathori commanded. Let us see what these humans are really made of. The journey took 3 days. When the 12th Armada dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system, they found the 47th Fleet waiting. For them, Fleet Commander Cephalon came aboard the World Breaker to brief his superior. Admiral, Cephalon began nervously, the humans are not what our scouts reported. They have technology we do not understand. Fighters that can phase in and out of space. Weapons that ignore our shields. Vexathori listened to the report with growing anger. 20 ships destroyed by 12 fighters. It was impossible. It was embarrassing. It was something that would never happen again. Show me these phase fighters, he demanded. The combined fleet moved toward Earth, sensors scanning for any sign of human vessels. They found a few small ships moving between the planets, but nothing that looked like a threat. The phase fighters had vanished as mysteriously as they had appeared. There, Zephalin pointed at his tactical display. The research station orbiting the sixth planet. That is where their fighters came from. Vexthori studied the readings. One space station. It looked harmless enough, but appearances meant nothing now. If it was a threat, it would be eliminated. All ships target that station, he ordered. Maximum firepower. I want it vaporized. 400 warships turned their weapons towards Saturn Defense Platform Alpha. Plasma cannons, particle beams, antimatter torpedoes, and fusion missiles locked onto the distant target. Enough destructive power to destroy a small moon focused on one human outpost. Fire, Vexthori commanded. Space lit up with deadly energy. Hundreds of weapons fired at once, creating a storm of destruction that raced toward Saturn. On the platform, Station Commander Yoon Jae-wook watched the attack coming and smiled. Activate defensive systems, he ordered calmly. The space around the platform suddenly shimmered. A dimensional barrier appeared, bending space itself into a protective shell. The Veltharian attack struck the barrier and simply vanished, absorbed, into folded space where it could harm nothing. Impossible, whispered Vexthori. Nothing can stop that much firepower, but the humans were just getting started. From behind the dark side of Earth's moon, something massive began to move. It had been hiding there for weeks, invisible to all sensors, waiting for this moment. The KDFS Indomitable emerged from the moon's shadow like a metal mountain coming to life. 15 kilometers long and 3 kilometers wide, it dwarfed every ship in the Veltharian fleet. Its hull was black as space itself, covered in armor that seemed to shift and flow like living metal. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Admiral Kim Hye-jin stood beside Captain Baek Tae-hyun, watching the enemy fleet on their main screen. 400 ships. It was exactly what they had hoped for. All stations report ready, Admiral, Captain Baek announced. Engineering? Admiral Kim asked. Chief Engineer Park Ji-ho's voice came through the speakers. Quantum matter armor is fully active. Dimensional phase drives are online. Gravitational wave cannon is charged and ready. Communications? All frequencies are clear, Admiral. We can broadcast to the entire system. Admiral Kim nodded. Open a channel to the Veltharian fleet, the U. Transmission reached every ship in the enemy armada. Alien commanders stared at their screens as a human woman appeared before them. She wore a simple blue uniform with admiral's stars on her shoulders. Her face was calm, but her eyes held the promise of destruction. I am Admiral Kim Hye-jin of the Earth Defense Force, she said. You came to our system uninvited. You threatened our world. You attacked our people. This is your last chance to leave in peace. Grand Admiral Vexthori responded immediately. Human, you face the combined might of the Veltharian Empire. Surrender now or be destroyed. We gave you our answer already, Admiral Kim replied. We decline your generous offer. The transmission ended. Vexthori stared at the image of the massive human ship on his screen. It was huge, yes, but size meant nothing against superior numbers. All ships, he commanded. Target that Dreadnought. Concentrate all fire, destroy it. 400 Veltharian warships opened fire at once. The largest space battle in the galaxy's history had begun. Plasma beams, antimatter torpedoes, particle cannons, and fusion missiles converged on the Indomitable. The attack was so intense that it lit up space for millions of kilometers. Energy. Readings went off the scale. It was enough firepower to boil away Earth's oceans. The human Dreadnought did not dodge. It did not raise shields. It simply sat in space and took every shot. When the light faded, the Indomitable was still there. Its black hull showed no damage, no scorch marks, no holes. The armor had absorbed every attack and was already repairing the tiny scratches that remained. Status report, Admiral Kim asked calmly. All systems normal, reported Captain Baek. The quantum matter armor absorbed 98% of their attack. The remaining energy was converted to power for our systems. Excellent, Admiral Kim said. Return fire. One shot. In the Indomitable's main weapon bay, Massive capacitors discharged their stored energy into the gravitational wave cannon. The weapon drew power from Earth's own gravity well, focusing it into a beam that could tear apart matter at the subatomic level. The cannon fired. The gravitational pulse was invisible to the naked eye, but its effects were immediate and terrible. It struck the center of the Veltharian formation like the fist of an angry god. 60 ships simply ceased to exist, their atoms scattered across space. Dozens more were crippled by the gravitational shockwaves, their hulls twisted into impossible shapes. In less than 3 seconds, the largest fleet in Veltharian history had lost a quarter of its strength. "By the void," whispered Grand Admiral Vexithori. "What kind of weapon is that?" His tactical officer was frantically checking his instruments. "Admiral, the gravitational readings are off the scale. They are using gravity itself as a weapon." Vexithori felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. Pure, cold fear. The humans had just demonstrated technology that was centuries ahead of anything the Empire possessed. "All ships, retreat to minimum weapons range," he ordered. "Prepare for another attack." But the Indomitable was not finished. Its dimensional phase drives activated, and the massive ship simply vanished from normal space. For a moment, the Veltharian fleet was alone with their dead. Then the human Dreadnought reappeared in the middle of their formation. Panic spread through the alien fleet as the Indomitable materialized among them like a metal ghost. Ships scattered in all directions trying to get away from the monster that had appeared in their midst. The Indomitable fired again, and again. Each shot from its gravitational cannon deleted more ships from existence. The proud vessels of the Empire, which had conquered 1,000 worlds, died like insects before a giant's boot. "Admiral," Captain Beck reported, "enemy fleet is breaking formation. They are trying to retreat. Let them go." Admiral Kim replied, "We have made our point." In 10 minutes the battle was over. The combined Veltharian fleet, which had come to conquer Earth, fled toward the edge of the solar system. Behind them floated the wreckage of over 100 warships. The Indomitable hung in space like a dark angel, untouched and terrible. On the Worldbreaker's bridge, Grand Admiral Vexithori stared at the tactical display in shock. His fleet was broken. His reputation was destroyed. The Empire's greatest armada had been defeated by a single human ship. "Send a message to the Emperor," he ordered quietly. "Tell him we have found something we cannot defeat." The message raced across space toward the Empire's capital. Soon Emperor Crixtel would learn that his nightmare had become reality. The humans were not primitives to be conquered. They were something else entirely. They were the Empire's doom. Emperor Crixtel read the battle report 3 times before he believed it. The 12th Armada, the pride of the Veltharian fleet, had been crushed by a single human ship. Over 100 vessels destroyed, the survivors fleeing like frightened children. "This is impossible," he snarled, crushing the datapad in his clawed hand. "No species has ever defeated our fleets. No species has ever humiliated the Empire like this." His advisors cowered before his rage. In 3,000 years of conquest, nothing like this had ever happened. The Empire's war machine had seemed unstoppable. Now it lay broken against the will of one small world. "Summon the core fleet," the Emperor commanded. "Every ship, every weapon, every warrior we have. These humans will learn what happens when someone defies the Empire." The core fleet was the Empire's ultimate weapon, 1,000 warships that had never known defeat. They guarded the heart of Veltharian space and had not been deployed in over a century. If they could not crush humanity, nothing could. But humanity was no longer waiting to be crushed. Light years away from the Empire's capital, Admiral Kim Hye-jin stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, studying star charts. Earth's single Dreadnought was no longer alone. The shipyards of Jupiter had been working around the clock, building more vessels with humanity's revolutionary technology. "Admiral," Captain Bayek Taehyun reported, "the fleet is assembled." Kim looked out at the ships surrounding the Indomitable. 50 vessels, each one incorporating the best of human engineering. Cruisers with dimensional phase drives, destroyers, armed with gravitational cannons, carriers loaded with fighters that could strike from impossible angles. "Set course for the Kethmar system," Kim ordered. "It is time to begin the liberation." Kethmar was a mining world on the edge of Veltharian space. The Empire had enslaved its people centuries ago, forcing them to dig rare metals from poisonous caverns. It was the perfect place to start humanity's campaign. The human fleet traveled faster than light, using dimensional tunnels that folded space around them. The journey to Kethmar took only days instead of months. When they dropped out of faster-than-light travel, they found exactly what intelligence reports had predicted. 12 Veltharian warships orbited the planet, maintaining control over the enslaved population. Orbital platforms protected the mining operations. Thousands of alien workers toiled in underground factories, producing weapons for the Empire's war machine. "Attention, Veltharian vessels," Admiral Kim broadcast on all frequencies. "This is the Earth Defense Force. You are ordered to evacuate this system immediately. Any attempt to harm the civilian population will be met with immediate destruction." The Veltharian commander laughed at the transmission. 12 ships against 50 might seem like bad odds, but these were primitives. The Empire's forces would show them how real warriors fought. "All ships, attack formation," the alien commander ordered. "Destroy the human fleet." The Veltharian vessels opened fire with everything they had. Plasma cannons and antimatter torpedoes lit up space with deadly energy. It was a respectable attack that could have destroyed any normal fleet. But humanity no longer built normal fleets. The human ships simply vanished. One moment they were there, the next they had phased out of normal space. The Veltharian weapons struck empty void while their targets materialized behind them. "Impossible," whispered the alien commander. "Where did they go?" His answer came in the form of gravitational cannon fire. The human ships reappeared throughout the Veltharian formation, their weapons speaking with the voice of collapsed stars. 12 alien warships died in 12 seconds, their hulls torn apart by forces beyond their understanding. On the planet's surface, the Keith people looked up at the sky and saw their oppressors' ships exploding like fireworks. For the first time in centuries, they dared to hope. Marine Colonel Oh Dong-wook led the first wave of landing craft toward the planet. His assault troops were equipped with powered armor and weapons that could punch through any known material. But more importantly, they carried medical supplies and food for the enslaved population. "Remember," he told his troops over the radio, "we are here to liberate, not conquer. These people have suffered enough." The landing was unopposed. The Veltharian ground forces had fled when their fleet was destroyed. Within hours, human medics were treating wounded Keth workers while engineers began dismantling the slave camps. Dr. Nam Hairi worked tirelessly in a makeshift hospital, treating aliens who had never seen humans before. The Keth were tall and thin, with blue skin and large eyes. They had been bred for mining work, their bodies adapted to survive in poisonous atmospheres. "They have never known freedom," she told Colonel O, as they watched Keth children playing for the first time in their lives. "The Empire has enslaved them for so many generations that they do not remember what it means to choose." "Then we will teach them," O replied. "We will show them that there is another way to live." The liberation of Kethmar sent shockwaves across the galaxy. For the first time in millennia, a world had been freed from Veltharian control. The news spread through underground networks and secret communications, reaching enslaved populations on 100 worlds. On the Empire's capital world, Information Minister Caldris tried desperately to control the damage. The official news broadcast described the humans as dangerous terrorists who threatened galactic peace. But the truth was harder to suppress. Video footage showed human medics treating alien wounded. Images spread of human engineers sharing clean water technology with poisoned worlds. The Empire's propaganda painted humanity as monsters, but the evidence showed something else entirely. Communications specialist Kang Min-ah worked from a hidden base in the asteroid belt, coordinating with resistance groups across the galaxy. Her radio broadcasts reached enslaved populations on dozens of worlds, carrying a simple message: "You are not alone. Help is coming." The Empire tried to jam her signals, but human communication technology adapted faster than their countermeasures. Every time they blocked one frequency, Kang found 10 more. Her voice became known throughout Veltharian space as the Herald of Freedom. "People of the galaxy," she broadcast, "the Empire tells you that resistance is hopeless. They say that freedom is impossible. They lie. The humans of Earth have come to show you another way." One by one, worlds began to rise up. On the agricultural planet of Nemtar, farmers refused to send food to imperial worlds. On the industrial moon of Kixlov, factory workers sabotaged weapons production. The Empire's economy, built on slave labor, began to collapse. Emperor Crixtel watched his domain crumble from his crystal throne. Rebellions erupted faster than his forces could suppress them. The core fleet was finally ready, but every day they delayed meant more worlds slipping from Imperial control. "Deploy the fleet," he ordered. "Find these humans and destroy them. Make an example that will terrify the galaxy into submission." But the humans were no longer hiding in their home system. Admiral Kim's fleet struck at targets across Veltharian space, appearing without warning to liberate enslaved worlds. They hit mining operations, freed prison planets, and destroyed military bases. At the fortress world of Drakmor, the Empire's regional command center, Admiral Kim faced her largest battle yet. 300 Veltharian warships defended the planet along with massive orbital weapons platforms. "All ships attack formation," Kim ordered. "Show them what Earth's children can do." The battle raged for 6 hours. Human ships phased in and out of normal space, striking at the heart of the Imperial defense. Gravitational cannons tore through enemy formations while dimensional missiles ignored shields and armor. When the fighting ended, Drakmor was free. The fortress that had controlled a dozen star systems lay in ruins. 300 Imperial warships had been reduced to scrap metal drifting in space. Intelligence Officer Lim Young-ho intercepted enemy communications during the battle. The messages he decoded chilled his blood. The Empire was preparing to use an ancient weapon, something called the Starforge. It could destroy entire solar systems. "Admiral," he reported to Kim, "they are planning to target Earth itself. If they cannot rule the galaxy, they will burn it rather than lose control." Kim studied the intelligence reports with growing alarm. The Starforge was a relic from the Empire's early days, built to eliminate rebellious systems by igniting their stars. It had not been used in 2,000 years, but the weapon still existed. "How long before they can deploy it?" she asked. 3 days, maybe 4, Lim replied. "They are moving it to the Veltara system now." Kim made her decision instantly. "Signal the fleet. We return to Earth immediately. If they want to use their ultimate weapon, they will face ours." The human fleet raced through dimensional space toward home. Behind them, the Empire mobilized its remaining forces for a final battle. The core fleet, 1,000 warships strong, would defend the Starforge while it charged for a shot that would destroy Earth's sun. The galaxy held its breath. 2 civilizations, representing opposite ideals, were about to clash in a battle that would decide the fate of every living being among the stars. Freedom or slavery, hope or despair. The choice would be made in fire and blood above the capital world of the Veltharian Empire. The Starforge hung in space above Veltara like a metal moon. Ancient and terrible, it had been built 2,000 years ago to end rebellions by destroying entire star systems. The weapon was a cylinder 50 kilometers long, its surface covered in energy collectors that could focus stellar radiation into a beam capable of igniting any star. Emperor Crixtel stood in the Forge's command center, watching his technicians prepare the ancient weapon for firing. The process would take days, but once complete, Earth's sun would explode in a supernova that would sterilize the entire human solar system. "How long?" he demanded. Chief Technician Malvor bowed nervously. 60 hours, my Emperor. The power collectors must align perfectly with Veltara's star before we can begin the charging sequence. Then we have 60 hours to hold this position, Crixtel replied. The humans will come. They cannot allow us to complete the weapon. He was right. Light years away, Admiral Kim Hee-jin's fleet raced through dimensional space toward the Empire's capital system. Intelligence Officer Lim Young-ho had decoded the enemy's plans completely. The Starforge would fire in less than 3 days unless they could stop it. Status report, Admiral Kim called out as the fleet dropped back into normal space. All ships present and accounted for, Captain Baek Tae-hyun reported. We have 50 human vessels plus 30 ships from the liberated worlds. The liberated worlds had sent their own forces to join the final battle. Keth miners had rebuilt old cargo ships into makeshift warships. Nemtar farmers had armed their transport vessels with human weapons. Former slaves had become warriors, united in their determination to end the Empire forever. Sensors are detecting massive energy readings from the 4th planet, reported the tactical officer. The Starforge is there, along with the core fleet. Admiral Kim studied the tactical display. 1,000 Veltharian warships surrounded the ancient weapon in a defensive formation that had never been broken. Each ship was a veteran of countless battles. Together, they represented the Empire's final stand. Open a channel to all ships, Kim ordered. The transmission went out to every vessel in the human fleet. Alien and human faces appeared on screens throughout the armada. Former slaves looked to their liberators for guidance. Today we face the Empire's greatest fleet, Admiral Kim began. They have a weapon that can destroy stars, burn worlds, and billions of lives. We are outnumbered 12-1. Our enemy fights from prepared positions with weapons built over centuries of conquest. She paused, letting her words sink in. But we have something they do not. We fight for freedom. We fight for the right of every sentient being to choose their own destiny. We fight so that no child will ever again be born into slavery. Cheers echoed through the fleet's communication channels. Human voices mixed with alien languages as the forces of liberation prepared for battle. All ships, attack formation, Admiral Kim commanded. Today we end the Empire. The human fleet charged toward Veltara at maximum speed. The core fleet moved to intercept them, their weapons already charging. The largest space battle in galactic history was about to begin. The first exchange of fire lit up space for millions of kilometers. 1,000 Imperial ships opened fire at once, their combined firepower enough to boil away a planet's atmosphere. The human fleet responded with gravitational cannons and dimensional missiles that bent space itself into a weapon. Ships died on both sides. The humans lost 3 destroyers to concentrated antimatter fire. The Veltharians lost 20 vessels to a single gravitational pulse from the Indomitable. But the Empire's numbers began to tell. For every Imperial ship destroyed, they could replace it with 2 more. Admiral, Captain Baek reported grimly. We are taking heavy casualties. At this rate, we will not reach the Starforge. Kim watched the tactical display with calculating eyes. The core fleet was too strong, too well positioned. A direct assault would fail. They needed another plan. Signal Captain Baek Tae-hyun to take command of the fleet, she ordered. I am transferring my flag to a shuttle. Admiral, what are you planning? Captain Baek asked in alarm. Kim smiled. It was the same expression she had worn when facing her first Veltharian fleet. Something the Empire will never expect. A human willing to sacrifice everything for freedom. She transferred to a small shuttle and flew directly toward the Starforge. The ancient weapon was charging now, drawing power from Veltara's star through massive energy collectors. In 30 hours it would be ready to fire at Earth. The shuttle's communication system crackled to life. Emperor Krixtel himself was calling. Admiral Kim Hyejin. The Emperor's voice was filled with satisfaction. You have come to surrender? I have come to negotiate, Kim replied. The Empire does not negotiate with rebels, Krixtel snarled. Then let me speak to someone who does, Kim said calmly. Because I have an offer that might interest you. The shuttle docked with the Starforge. Admiral Kim walked through corridors that had not seen visitors in centuries, escorted by Imperial guards who watched her with suspicious eyes. She carried no weapons, wore no armor. She looked like a woman, walking to her own execution. The Emperor waited in the weapons command center surrounded by his most loyal officers. He was tall and imposing, his gray skin marked with scars from 100 battles. This was the being who had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. "Speak," he commanded. "Release all enslaved populations," Kim said. "Withdraw your fleets to your core systems. Allow the liberated worlds to govern themselves. In return, I will surrender myself and order the human fleet to stand down." Crixtel laughed. "You offer me nothing I cannot take by force." "Can you?" Kim asked. "Your core fleet is dying out there. Your economy is collapsing. Rebellion spread across every system you control. The Empire is already dead. I am offering you a chance to preserve what remains. The Starforge will destroy your homeworld in 28 hours. The Emperor replied. "Your species will be extinct. What power do you have to negotiate?" Kim smiled. "The power to make sure you do not survive to see it." She pressed a button on her uniform. Instantly, alarms began sounding throughout the Starforge. In the weapon's power core, shaped charges that Kim had smuggled aboard her shuttle began to detonate. "You fool!" Crixtel screamed. "You will destroy us all." "That was always the plan," Kim replied calmly. The Starforge began to tear itself apart. The ancient weapon's power core was overloading, drawing more energy from the star than it could safely contain. The energy collectors, designed to focus stellar radiation, turned that power inward instead. Outside in space, Captain Baek Tae-hyun watched in horror as the Starforge began to glow like a miniature sun. "All ships retreat to minimum safe distance," he ordered. "The Admiral is inside that thing." The weapon's hull cracked and split as uncontrolled stellar energy poured through its corridors. Emperor Crixtel and his guards tried to reach escape pods, but it was too late. The Starforge had become a stellar bomb, and nothing could survive the forces contained within. Admiral Kim stood in the command center as the walls began to melt around her. She thought of Earth, of the blue skies and green fields she would never see again. She thought of the billions of beings across the galaxy who would live free because of this moment. "All human vessels," she spoke into her communicator one last time. "This is Admiral Kim Hee-jin. The mission is complete. Take the fleet home. Tell them we kept our promise." The Starforge exploded in a burst of light that could be seen across the solar system. The ancient weapon, the Empire's final hope, died along with its creator. Emperor Crixtel, who had ruled the galaxy for millennia, was reduced to atoms in the stellar fire. The explosion sent shockwaves through the core fleet. Ships that had never known defeat suddenly found themselves without leadership, without orders, without purpose. The empire that had defined their existence for 3,000 years was gone in an instant. One by one, the Imperial ships began to surrender. Captain Baek accepted their submission with heavy heart, knowing that victory had come at the ultimate price. On Earth, President Moon Jae-in received the news with tears in his eyes. Admiral Kim Hye-jin, the woman who had saved humanity and liberated the galaxy, had given her life to ensure that freedom would survive. The war was over. The Veltharian Empire, which had seemed eternal and unbreakable, collapsed within days. Across the galaxy, enslaved populations threw off their chains and began the long process of rebuilding their worlds. Dr. Nam Hai-ri established medical centers on a dozen liberated planets. Communications specialist Kang Min-ah helped former enemy worlds establish democratic governments. Marine Colonel Oh Dong-wook led peacekeeping forces that protected refugees and prevented revenge killings. The humans did not become the new rulers of the galaxy. Instead, they helped establish the Galactic Federation, a voluntary alliance of free worlds dedicated to mutual cooperation and defense. Every member species had an equal voice. Every world had the right to choose its own path. 1 year after the Battle of Veltara, representatives from 200 worlds gathered on Earth for the Federation's first assembly. Former slaves sat beside former enemies, united in their commitment to never again allow tyranny to dominate the galaxy. The KDFS Indomitable, now flagship of the Federation Navy, patrolled the space lanes, ensuring that no new empire could rise to threaten the peace.